We are here today with Dr. Bob Milligan. This time he will be focusing on time management.
Thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure to discuss this topic that I think is really important, and I think you're going to find that I take a little bit different look at it than you often have heard when you've gone to time management seminars or listened to other time management podcasts or whatever the case may be. Let's begin by looking at a couple of symptoms that you're having time management challenges. One of the symptoms is stress and anxiety. I think we have to remember that worrying about a problem isn't going to get it done. We have to do something about it. Another one is frustration. I actually visited with one of my clients this morning who's been hiring some people, and it's a busy time, and then he had a couple of resignations. And he really was feeling overwhelmed, okay? And that happens, but we have to minimize the amount that happens. The other thing is that when we have time management challenge, we often are personally inefficient. How many times at the end of the day have you said, I didn't really do anything today that I set out to do? That's really a symptom of a time management challenge. The most important one, perhaps, for us as leaders and managers is employee inefficiency and uncertainty. If we aren't managing our time well, we really also are not providing good direction and good leadership for our employees. So let's then think about the time management dilemma. In reality, time is basically the only thing that we all have the same amount of. We all have 24 hours in a day. So it isn't a matter of creating more or creating less. It's a matter of managing what we have. So it's really finding time for what's important. When we see those symptoms that we were talking about earlier, it's really when we get drawn away by the urgent. And as leaders and managers, we aren't focusing on the important. Now, what's the important but not urgent include? It's quality personal and family time, and it's really leadership and management time. Now, perhaps this next point is the most important point of this whole podcast. And that is that I believe time management is really not about time. Time management is about knowing, establishing, and working on our priorities. It's not about working on what everyone's bringing to us on what urgent. It's working on our priorities. Tom Gigak was the owner and entrepreneur who started Tires Plus. And after he had 2 or 3 stores, he describes it that he got to where I had to stop managing by the seat of my pants. And that's really where we are as most managers. We need to start managing our time. After he did that, Tires Plus mushroomed from a concept sketched on a restaurant napkin to 150 upscale stores in 10 states and $200 million in revenue. He has since sold it to Firestone, but he really had that success. But he had the epiphany that he had to manage his time, that he had to focus on what's important but not urgent. If we look at this diagram that has urgent and not urgent on the vertical and important and not important on the horizontal axis, too often we spend our time, and when we're having time management problems, we spend our time in that quadrant 1, things that are important and urgent. This is often referred to as the quadrant of crisis. We have to reduce our time there and establish our priorities so we can spend more time in the quadrant of quality, the quality where we're looking at issues that are important, but they've not yet become urgent. So how do we do that? Well, this really is a problem for any small business manager, because the challenge is to recognize that leadership and management are the highest priority. So how do we do that? We really need to do that by remembering this table and by establishing some time. Fitting and focusing on your priorities will require a plan. We often speak of that as planning time. My planning time is when I'm exercising. I do a lot of thinking. I probably came up with some of the ideas for this webinar. There's some other examples on the screen. You need to establish your own planning time. Select the time that's best for you to work on tasks that are important but not urgent. It needs to be clearly defined, not when I need to or when I have time. And then you have to make it a priority. And that may require some structure. We're going to do it 3 times a week or whatever the case may be. We have to be able to reduce the amount of time in quadrant 1, eliminate 3 and 4 time, and focus on quadrant 2. I think Zig Ziglar, the motivational speaker, sums this up pretty well. When you do the things you need to do, when you need to do them, the day will come when you can do the things you want to do when you want to do them. Remember, time management is about priorities.
Thank you, Bob. For more information on time management and other management skills, please visit www.progressivedairy.com to see more of Bob's articles and other webinars.